Hey all, JTC here, and today I bring an update to the crit power versus video that I made a couple of weeks ago now. Someone from my Discord, Aether Blackbolt, had seen the video and decided to do some extensive mathematical testing between the two, and he shared it with me, and I wanted to share the results with you guys. Now, we're not going to be going over absolutely everything that he did, because he did quite a bit, and I'm not going to lie, I don't understand 100% of it, but I do understand the major points, and that's what we're going to talk about. So the first thing that he proved is that there is a correlation or a ratio between additional power and how much extra damage you do, as well as the same for crit power and how much additional damage you do. The ratio for just raw power increase or power versus is 1-to-1, which means that for every 1% additional power you have, you'll be dealing roughly 1% more damage to that specific enemy type, or if it's just a raw power increase just across the board. But the ratio for crit power is actually different. It's actually 1 to about 0.5. This means that if you're running 20% power versus, you'll be dealing 20% more damage to that specific enemy type, whereas if you're running 20% crit power, you'll only be dealing about 10% more damage with your crits. But using this information, he did already prove something that we know. What I said from my last video, that some weapons use crit power better than others, which can actually be seen by this chart. This specific chart in front of me is the damage of Zealot using one-handed hammer, using a raw power increase on the left while using crit power on the right. Remember, since the ratios of the two power increases are different, it will take roughly 2 times the crit power to reach the equivalent amount of damage of just raw power, which I've color-coded for us to see on the chart. I went ahead to the right over here in the percent difference of crit power and took the difference between the two, and we can see that up until 80% crit power gives 0 damage and then actually begins to lose damage in favor of raw power. Now, he actually did do the same exact test with Shade and Spear, because Spear is a finesse weapon, and we can actually just see that the results are much, much better. Now, keep in mind that the crit power numbers highlighted in gray towards the bottom, 1/30th or 1/65, are just theoretical, since the max amount of crit power that you can get in the live realm is 125 on Shade specifically. But crit power actually scales better with the Spear than it did with the hammer, that we can see here. Now, just because these numbers might seem like they're in favor of crit power doesn't necessarily mean they are. Remember, the maximum amount of additional crit power that you can get on Shade by herself, excluding the Warrior Priest talent, is 90%, with 50% from cruelty and then 40% from the properties on your weapons and jewelry. And according to the dark green square, that's only an additional 8.5 damage per crit, which is virtually nothing. Remember that while crit power might deal more damage overall, you're not going to be critting with every strike, even on Shade, and raw power increases damage from every single attack, including ones that you do actually crit on. And then lastly, the final thing that he discovered we're going to talk about is actually pretty cool, because it's something that not even I knew about. The ratio for these two stay the same as the number goes up, but once they reach a certain point, they actually begin to gain additional damage, which is at 45% raw power increase and a 115% crit power increase, which he says, I think, down somewhere over here. Somewhere over here. Oh, over here. A percent power increase is roughly blah, blah, blah. Above 45%, a power increase causes a growing percent damage increase, e.g. 50% power roughly equals 55% more damage, while 65% more power roughly equals 75% more damage, so on and so forth. And then he says the same thing with crit power right below it. Now, this is actually pretty helpful on Zealot and Handmaiden, since they can make use of the additional damage with the help of Ironbreaker's ult. That boosts his team power, or whatever that one's called. But it's not very helpful with crit power, since the max amount of crit power is only obtainable by Shade, and you can only gain 10% over that threshold from 115 to 125. While with Zealot and raw power, you'll gain up to 30% over that threshold. 45 up to 75% maximum on Zealot, which I do believe, if my calculations are correct, is the absolute maximum amount of additional power that you can get in Live Realm. So what does this all mean? According to the original person who did this, Aether Blackbolt, he says that power versus is always going to be better than crit power, because power versus mathematically just scales better than crit power, which we can see by this right here. Y1 is in reference to power versus, and he says power versus, or power percent, is better than crit power percent after 3.71 on the hammer, or I'm assuming this just means any non-finesse weapon, and for Spear specifically, or finesse weapons, it's better after 0.008% additional power. However, after looking at this, I've come to a different conclusion. The conclusion that I've come to is that crit power is only worth it if you can reliably force critical hits to occur, which is only possible on Bounty Hunter and Sister of the Thorn. Of course, if you want to actually make a build around this, you do have to jump through some hoops and take some L's in order to get there. But I do believe you could actually make a boss killing slash special killing build, or not special killing, boss killing slash super armor killing build with this and do generally okay. But yep, thank you so much to Aether for doing this math and letting me review it. It's pretty cool. Hopefully I explained everything right. If I didn't, he'll come into the comments and yell at me, so it's fine. And yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed and learned something. See y'all.